Hi, I'm Michael Santos with Alternative Investment Seminars, and I really want to welcome you and thank you for taking the time to spend this afternoon with me. I'm recording this webinar to live on the internet so anybody can listen and learn from this opportunity that is working for me and that I hope can work for you. Alternative investments it's really a concept that's a little bit different from ordinary investing. I want you to understand I am not a registered investment advisor. I am an individual just like you, an individual who's striving to prepare for success, to prepare for prosperity, and I am really excited to share the strategies that are working for me, help you understand them, and see if they can work for you. Now, I'm an individual who has a bit of a different background from most people, so I always like to be fully transparent, fully authentic. I provide all types of information. As I get started here, I want to let you know that this presentation is going to last about 50 minutes. I'm starting the presentation at 11:10 on Friday, January the 29th, recording it for you to live in perpetuity. But I want you to know I'll probably be finishing in about 50 minutes. And the way that it's going to break down is I'll spend these first 10 minutes sharing a little bit about my background, letting you know why the lessons that I have learned and the lessons that are empowering me can be applicable to your life. Then I will be speaking about the opportunity itself, why alternative investments makes so much sense for me, why I believe they should make so much sense for you. And then following that, I'm going to share the opportunities that I am using right now to advance my prospects for a prosperous retirement and show how you could take advantage of the same types of opportunities in your life. But let me begin, as I said, by telling you a little bit about my background. Now, it's fully transparent, it's easily verifiable, and I'm going to provide you with a copy of this particular slideshow that you see there on the screen so that you can do your own due diligence and see if I'm an individual who has a backstory that will prove worthy of your interest. And I can tell you, the backstory is different from what you probably expect. You see, that's me on the side of that screen there when I was a young man. I made some really bad decisions when I was 20 years old after I saw that movie with Tony Montana on there. And that movie was Scarface. Instead of watching that as an entertainment value, during my young mind of 20 years old, I decided to embark upon that same strategy of trafficking in cocaine. And as a consequence of that, I was arrested, I was convicted, and I was locked in prison for 26 consecutive years. Now, the message here is that what really not the bad decisions that I made that brought me into prison, but rather what did I learn through that journey, and how did learning through that journey influence me to emerge from prison successfully, return to society successfully, and begin building a life of prosperity. Because the strategies that I used is no different from the strategies I'm using now, which is seizing alternative investments as a tool. And I can tell you that I learned it from Socrates. Socrates was the mentor who inspired me when I was at the very earliest stages of my journey. Socrates taught me to begin asking questions. If I want to advance my life from where I am to where I want to go, I've got to ask the right questions. And I would submit that that's the same thing that you need to be doing. If you are living in an environment right now and you want to position yourself for more prosperity in the future, well, then it all begins with the types of questions that you ask. It's understanding your environment, understanding how difficult it is, and how can you prosper in spite of those difficulties. I was locked inside of cages that extinguish hope for most people, but because I learned how to ask the right questions, I was able to emerge from prison differently from what anybody would expect. It always began with the question of what is success. You will see if you look at these details that I'm going to provide at the end of this, at the conclusion of this webinar. When I send you links, you will see that I earned university degrees while I was incarcerated. Soon after I entered the system, I earned my bachelor's degree, all through studies while I was in struggle. I earned my master's degree. You will see that I published a number of books while I was incarcerated. You will see that I married the love of my life while I was incarcerated. And you will see that I came out of that system really successfully. I am going to send you this book at the conclusion of this episode, which shows how I built assets worth $1 million within 2 years of release from 26 years inside, and how you can succeed too. The title of that book is Success After Prison. You will get a free digital copy just as soon as I conclude this webinar. You will also get a copy of this particular book, which is Invest in Paradise, the top 10 reasons. I wrote this digital book specifically for you. And the reason that I wrote the book is I wanted you to see there is a method to overcoming struggle, and the lessons that got me through the journey are directly applicable to you as well. So, as I always say, and you will see throughout my work, I never ask anybody to do anything that I am not doing. I never ask anybody to embrace concepts that aren't working for me. And that's what this course is all about. It was that strategy of asking the right types of Socratic questions that got me through the struggle of my life, that followed the bad decisions I made when I was 20 years old. It allowed me to come back to society as a well-educated man, a published author, married, contributing to society. But when I came back, I had to ask those same questions, because I concluded my obligation to the Bureau of Prisons on August the 12th, 2013, not too long ago, and I set a new goal. That goal was, I told my wife, we are going to earn our first $1 million within 5 years, and we're going to earn it by August the 12th, 2018. So it's very clear, 5 years. How am I going to do it? I'm going to use alternative investments was a part of my strategy. There is a reason for that. I'll be sharing that with you as we advance through this project, as we advance through this webinar. And I will encourage you, as I said, do your due diligence. See who I am. Learn why my life experiences are particularly valuable during this volatile economy, a volatile economy where there are changes happening every day. I can tell you that by living this strategy of asking Socratic questions, that was going to be my approach to earning this first $1 million within 5 years. And you will see as when you get this book right here that I'm already well on my way on the way of earning that first $1 million, because I've already built assets that are worth more than $1 million, and I've done it within 2 years of coming back to society. If that strategy can work for me, just think about what it can do for you. It begins how? Asking the right types of questions. By embarking upon this path, I was able to and get national attention to my work, as you see from PBS NewsHour profiled my story, and I will be sending you this slideshow so that you can watch it for yourself. I will show you that NBC News profiled me on this story, and now again, you will have a link to it so that you can watch it for yourself. You will see that I have spoken in platforms that include the famous TED platform. You will see that I have been able to come back to society fundamentally different from what anybody would expect. In fact, within 3 weeks of coming back to society, I was hired as an adjunct professor at San Francisco State University. And I don't tell you any of that to pat myself on the back, but rather to validate that it is this strategy of thinking outside of the box, of thinking about ways to prosper when other people don't see that path. That is what worked for me. It all begins with asking the right kinds of questions. It is what I am encouraging you to do as you embark upon your path toward prosperity. And I would encourage you, think about every option that's on the table. Not only about traditional investing, not only about your career, not only about your earnings or savings plan, think about every different type of alternative investment and consider whether it's right for you. Now, as I said at the beginning, I am not a registered investment advisor. I am an individual who faced extraordinary struggle, but despite that struggle, have been able to come back to society and, as I show you, earn my first $1 million worth of assets, or build my first $1 million worth of assets within less than about 2.5 years of concluding 26 years in prison. You won't have to take my word for it. I'll be showing you exactly how I did it through this webinar. And I want to tell you why. It all began with this question here of saying, how am I going to satisfy this goal of earning my first $1 million within 5 years? I had to ask that question. I had to look around society and say, what is changing? What is available to me? What options exist? And as I asked that question, I didn't really like the answers that I was finding through my research. I mean, what I suspect you are seeing, that the vast majority of people don't have sufficient retirement savings to position themselves for a life of prosperity and happiness. This isn't my word. That's the Federal Reserve's word, as published in the Washington Post, shows that people who are my age, 45 to 50 years old, they had 23% of them did not have sufficient retirement savings. And frankly, that's frightening. The more research that I did, I could see how important it was to prepare for prosperity, because I didn't want to be like these people who have been outside for all of these years, but still have a very unpleasant surprise when they look at the gap between the baby boomers' savings plans and their desired annual retirement income. The non-affluent, which I would consider myself was certainly, they have expectations. They would like to have $40,000 a year in income, but the plans that they've made have put them in a situation where they're going to have less than $10,000 a year. Even the affluent are woefully unprepared for retirement. So, you gotta ask yourself, well, if I want to get myself to having $1 million worth of my own assets, it's not going to happen if I take the traditional path. You can look further. More research published by the Federal Reserve in the Washington Post. It shows that the median value of retirement accounts for families with holdings as they approach their retirement, 55 to 64, their total holdings amount to $103,000. And you and I both know that's really not enough money. That's not enough resource to advance the possibility for a prosperous retirement. Those are the facts of life. Those are the facts that so many people have encountered. And they didn't have my experience of being locked away from society for 26 years. They were people who were out here working. Now, I don't know whether you are one of those individuals who are really well prepared, or whether you're one of these individuals who are staring at your retirement plans and have that look of consternation every time you see it, where you're wondering, how am I going to do it? There are so many people in our society that are right now struggling, wondering, how am I going to prepare for retirement? I can tell you that I asked those kinds of questions and I realized I wanted something different. I mean, I told you that I got married inside of a federal prison in 2003. Through this strategy of thinking it differently, I was able to support my wife all throughout that journey. I was able to put her through nursing school, where she's now a graduate with a master's degree in nursing, working in a hospital. I did not want to provide her with a retirement plan that would result in her regretting tying her life to mine, and us having to have this real fear of how are we ever going to retire. I wanted to promise her something better, just like I think that you would like. You wanted to have a retirement where you're enjoying your life. You're able to really experience the golden years of your life in a magnificent way, where you're celebrating love, where you are rejuvenating your life with happiness and fulfillment. And how are you going to do that? How are you going to escape that level of consternation that plagues so many Americans? I can assure you, my research really convinced me I needed to think outside of the box. I needed to think about different options that may exist in society. And the more I looked around, the more I saw traditional investments are not going to be the way to go, at least not for me. My question for you is, what are traditional investments? Many people are wrapped up in the stock market, but the stock market is fundamentally different from what it was decades ago. Right now, you've got so much quantitative trading in the stock market right now that it makes it extremely volatile. If you had your investments tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Averages back in 2007, in this era, you will have seen your assets decimated by more than 50%. And that is just frightening, to have your nest egg cut in half. How do you recuperate? Yes, the market has rebounded, but it's just too much turmoil. And the question I have is, how much of your retirement is contingent on the stock market, because if something happens at the wrong time, you're going to see your assets decimated. It's going to cause you to lose sleep. It's going to bring, pain in your stomach. And the reality is, even if you don't know about the stock market, you are exposed to it if you're working at a full-time job and a portion of your earnings are being taken out every month and put into a 401k or some type of retirement plan. Most likely, those savings of yours are tied in some way to the stock market. And I know that volatility can result in you receiving statements every month that really bring some queasiness to your stomach. I mean, yesterday the stock market was up 200 points. Today it's down 200 points. Tomorrow it's up to 100 points. It's just incredibly frightening. And when I realized that, I knew that I had to do something different. Excuse me for a moment. I knew that the stock market was not going to be the best place for me when I came back to society. I did some investing in the market through my work after I came back to society. And after some significant losses, I recognized I need to liquidate this portfolio because it is not going to do what? It is not going to advance my prospects of getting that first $1 million within 5 years of my release from prison. I needed to think about something else. So, I looked at another possibility, which is fixed income. I looked at bonds. I looked at CDs. I looked at commercial paper. But the reality is the yields that come from these bonds are so low that it's just not attractive. Here is an example of my statement from Wells Fargo. You see my wife, Michael Santos and Carol Santos. Back in May of 15, I purchased a 90-day CD for $160,000. You can see the interest that I earned every month, less than $9 a month, in exchange for me locking up more than $160,000 in cash. Now, that strategy provides a yield of 0.1% annually. And there was no way this strategy was going to have any relationship to this goal that I set of doing what? Earning my first $1 million within 5 years. So I had to look elsewhere. It wasn't going to be the stock market that was going to help me. It wasn't going to be the bond market that was going to help me. I needed to find something else. And although this course is not about residential real estate, excuse me, although this course is not about residential real estate, I can tell you that was the approach that I took. I went into residential real estate. You can see this was the first house that I purchased in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's completed, and I made some good money on that strategy. I bought it for $390. It's currently worth about $530. I bought a second rental property, and that one is cash flowing, doing well. I bought a third rental property. I bought a fourth rental property. But once you have 4 rental properties, I can tell you that tends to exhaust itself as well. I mean, the strategy was working okay. That's how I got my $1 million worth of assets. My properties currently are worth about $1.1 million. They're cash flowing with $6,800 a month in revenues, and those pay my mortgage on a 15-year note. But it's not something that I can easily replicate. I can't keep going out and buying multiple pieces of rental properties because I've got problems. What are those problems? Well, there's an example. You got tenant problems. When you have tenant problems with a broken toilet or a broken air conditioner or a pest control or some issue, what's happening? They're calling you. It's okay with 2, 3, 4 properties, but if I were going to continue expanding that model, I wouldn't be able to continue working, and I've got a full-time job. You're going to hear all about my story, not only through this webinar, but also you'll read about it in this book right here because I want you to see everything that I'm talking about. What's the other problem with residential real estate? Well, it requires a down payment. And I had the sufficient down payment once I liquidated my stock portfolio and my fixed income portfolio. I was able to put the down payments necessary to acquire these properties. But I couldn't keep replenishing that cash and coming up with the down payments I would need to buy. I couldn't keep my credit going because every time I purchased a new property and got a mortgage on it, there would be a credit issue associated with it. And I couldn't continue that. So I needed to do what? I needed to continue asking the right questions, just like I am urging you to do right now. Ask the right questions. I can tell you that once I exhausted my possibility of purchasing real estate, I started asking questions, well, what's going to change in the next 20 years? You see, when I walked into the prison system, that's exactly the strategy that I used. What do I have to do in the next 20 years to position myself for success? Well, now I'm asking those same questions. What's going to change in the next 20 years? Well, I can tell you there's a lot of things that may change. A lot of technology may change. Cars may be flying. We may be able to, vaporize and appear in another area like they do on Star Trek. I forgot the name of that word, but, technology may evolve. But I can tell you those are a maze. I can tell you what absolutely is going to change. I can tell you that within the next 20 years, 80 million people in the United States are going to retire. That's the baby boomer generation. This is an absolute fact, verified by the Washington Post, verified by the U.S. Congress, verified by so many people that says we have 80 million people retiring over the next 20 years. And my question for you is, are you positioned in such a way to advance your prosperity, your retirement, in front of this movement that you know is going to happen? That's what I started thinking about, and that's what we're getting into with alternative investments. When I started to think about 80 million people retiring, I then started asking questions, how can I advance my own investment portfolio to take advantage of what I know to be the case? And I know that 80 million people are going to retire. What investment opportunities exist? I also knew that real estate had worked for me, but I also knew I can't work with tenants and down payments and credit. So I just started looking, and it began with a question. What is that question? Where do those people want to retire? I grew up in Seattle. A phenomenal city, but it's cloudy and it's cold and it's rainy. And the people I knew, I just thought maybe those 80 million people want to retire in a place that's different from that type of overcast cloud. And, I live down here right now in Orange County, and I think this is much more likely of a place where people want to retire. Orange County's beautiful. It's sunny all the time. You've got palm trees. You've got white sand. You've got just really extraordinary beauty in many parts of this community. But there's another problem with it. It's very pricey. It's extremely pricey to live in any beachfront community. But yet people still want to retire in paradise. They want to retire in an area where they can experience the joy of sea breezes and sunshine that's going to ache. It's going to ease their arthritis. They want to swing on hammocks strung between two palm trees and sip on their pina coladas or margaritas and fall in love again. And I just started looking, as I'm suggesting that you do. Where is a good place for these types of alternative investments that you can get in front of this macro movement of 80 million people retiring, who we know of a significant portion of them want to retire in paradise? I can tell you, I searched all over the United States looking for that type of environment, and all I could see was any place that had the things that I wanted: white sand, beaches, palm trees, sunshine, was way beyond the price point of most of those retirees because they're living on fixed income. So I took the next logical step. I started looking outside of the United States for investment opportunities. I looked in Costa Rica. And I can tell you, Costa Rica is a phenomenal place from what I saw. The problem is it's already appreciated to such an extraordinary extent that Costa Rica has become as expensive as the United States. Not only that, they have got ownership laws that are called the maritime laws that stop foreign-born citizens from being able to own land in oceanfront communities. They don't sell that land. You can buy a lease on the land for a long term, but that's not a real asset. I wanted a solid investment strategy, something that I could count on, something that I could call a real asset. I looked in Mexico. Again, same issue. It's already appreciated a lot, and you don't have the ability to purchase real estate in oceanfront communities, which is where I think a lot of these retirement people that I am targeting want to be. They want to be near the beach. They want to be in paradise. And so I went beyond Costa Rica, beyond Mexico, and I found this real jewel of the Caribbean. And that's what I would like you to be thinking about. Belize. Have you heard about Belize? Have you heard about how extraordinary it is? Because the more I researched, the more I found this is perfect for my alternative investment strategy. For one thing, it's very close to the United States. It's like a 2-hour flight from these major hubs, and it's accessible with nonstop flights from many other places. But its proximity to the United States really appealed to me because I believed that although a lot of people wanted to retire in paradise, they still wanted to be close enough that they could fly back to the United States easily enough in the event that they wanted to visit with family or experience some of the joys of being an American citizen. But I looked at other things in Belize. I mean, for one thing, the national language is English, which makes it a lot easier for these retirees. With English, they don't have to learn another language as they would in Costa Rica or in Mexico to just fit in with the local community. The currency, it trades at 2-to-1 to the US dollar, so it's very stable. It's exactly what the dollar is times 2. And that really plays a role for me because I'm interested in real estate. If I have to hire people to take care of my real estate or to build my real estate, I would be operating on their wages. Whereas here in the United States, for my properties, if a toilet breaks, I've got to pay a plumber $60 or $70 an hour to go out there to my property and make the repairs. But in this country of Belize, the properties are worth, the cost of labor is like $50 a day. So it's fundamentally different. I can get a lot more value in the country of Belize for my money than I can here. And with a 2-to-1 currency exchange, it makes it even sweeter. The other thing is this asset issue, as I told you about. The land you own in fee simple title, just as I own land here in the United States. So that's another huge advantage to other countries that I explored. It's got the most extraordinary scuba diving in the world. It's got this booming ecotourism industry. But perhaps most exciting about Belize is its qualified retirement plan, which fits in exactly with what I am looking to provide to these 80 million retirees. What is the qualified retirement plan? I can tell you in a nutshell. Individuals who have assets in the United States can bring those assets into Belize without having to pay any import or duty taxes. That means they can bring their car, they can bring their boat, they can bring all of their household goods into Belize, no tax when they bring it in. Further, any money that they earn outside of Belize, that they earn in the United States, is tax-free in Belize. So that's another massive advantage for me as an investor to be looking at. But it's more than that. It's not only me recognizing that Belize is important. As I did my research, I saw that Leonardo DiCaprio purchased an entire island there, and he is developing that island for wealthy Americans who want to retire in paradise. Properties on his island start, I think, in the $5 million range. You can do your own due diligence when I send you this slideshow where you can check out the New York Times, how it reported on his project and why he's investing in Belize. I saw that Norwegian Cruise Lines is investing in Belize. They purchased an entire island and are developing it to serve the cruise line industry, investing more than $60 or $70 million into that infrastructure. And I just started asking questions again. If Leonardo DiCaprio, who has the best financial advisors in the world, is investing in Belize, if Norwegian Cruise Lines is investing in Belize, does it make sense for me to pursue an investment strategy of owning a little piece of paradise myself? By asking those questions, I started to do research. Where can I find the best-in-class developers in Belize? And that research led me to this team right here. That's Luke Chadwick, the developer behind Sanctuary Belize. It's an award-winning development of more than, I think it's got like 1,500 home sites. They have a deep water marina. They have their own private island. It's won property awards from International Property Awards repeatedly as best development in Belize, best mixed-use development in Belize. And so I went down to speak with them, and I learned that the same developers recently launched another program. It's called Canantique, Belize. And you will have this documentation after the webinar. I'm very happy to send it to your email address so that you can do your own due diligence on it and see if you can get as excited about it as I am. This particular place was once a hotel, and it was one of the top 100 hotels in the entire world, the number one hotel in all of Central America, right there in Belize. It's called Canantique. And you can see those are the types of bungalows that people stay in. This is the pool club, the beach club of the facility. Well, what these guys did is they bought the entire hotel, and in addition to the hotel, they bought thousands of acres around it, and they're building this extraordinary master planned community. In the center of it all, they're building a world-class golf course, the only 18-hole golf course in a community like this in the entire country. And I just thought, wow, I got to learn more about this. And I learned that they're developing thousands of home sites on there over a sustained period of time. The reason that they've got this long-term development strategy is because of their commitment to ecotourism and developing it in an eco-friendly way so they don't disturb the soil. They can't dig too fast. They can't pollute the rivers. They can't pollute the ocean. They want to keep it as a pristine environment. The whole development just struck me as being extraordinarily exciting, and I wanted to learn more. I learned that it has its own private island that is only available to those who own home sites within the Canantique development. I learned how quickly it's selling out because it's being sold in phases. And what really attracted me to the place was the developer's financial stability. He is so strong that he owns all 5,300 acres completely debt-free, zero encumbrances. They've got all titles issued by the Belize government. The development is completely approved for move forward, and it's got an appraisal showing that this development is worth more than $500 million. And this company, what it does is it finances people who want to buy there. But when I continued speaking with the developer, I was asking him about his, continuing my strategy. What's that strategy? Asking Socratic questions. And my questions were, how long is it going to take you to sell this entire, this is only part of it here, I think it extends further, but sell all of these lots? And he said that he had about a 5-year plan. I said, a 5-year plan? Well, if you're going to sell it over 5 years, I said, how are you marketing it? And I learned that they're using this company here, bybelize.com, to do their marketing. You may have seen their commercials. That was initially how I learned about them. Their commercials run all of the time across the nation and across Canada. They now have an infomercial, and I'm sending these slides to you. You can watch for yourself. And so through this marketing campaign, the developer told me that he's spending close to $1 million a month on marketing. Now, obviously, he's spending that money and then passing along those expenses onto the people who are buying. That's why people who are buying through bybelize.com always have to pay a down payment. And I don't know whether that down payment's $10,000 or $15,000, but it's significant. And I suggested to him, I said, well, I'm an investor, and I think that there are a lot of investors in America. And I tell you what, if you would open an opportunity for me to market some of these properties, I will use my own technology platform and develop it through webinars and see if people can get excited about it like I'm excited about it. And my question for you is, if I can do that, would you consider giving me a discount on a lot? And that's my strategy. I'm being totally upfront and honest with you. That's my in, is that I want to excite more people about this opportunity and see if they can join me in owning a slice of paradise. And I asked them to look at, what is the question? Well, if the land valuation today is worth $500 million, this company currently has more than $100 million in receivables from all of its developments because it finances everybody. You see there, they become the lender of people who buy. So if you go down there and you put $20,000 down and you buy a piece of property, they will finance the rest for you. It seems a very stable investment. And so I asked them, well, what if I could market your properties for you and explain all of the benefits, show that this property is likely to increase in value, show that the property is very stable because of your personal investment, but avoid the high marketing costs. Instead of passing along these high marketing costs to the buyer, allow me to provide favorable economic terms to the buyer and let them use it as an alternative investment strategy. And he agreed to allow me 50 properties. So I have an option on 50 properties that I can market in this exclusive way. And now I'm going to transition into what that opportunity is for me and why it makes sense for you. Here it is. If you can envision yourself owning a piece of paradise, walking with it that some of those retirees can enjoy, walking along extraordinary beaches, swimming in extraordinary oceans, enjoying the exquisite beauty of this jewel of the Caribbean with clear crystal waters, greatest scuba diving in the world, extraordinary rainforests and Mayan ruins and riverine ecosystems and equestrian estates and natural beauty of jaguars and wildlife, if that makes sense to you, and it would make sense to you to do so in a manner that doesn't require any cash down, that doesn't require any credit scores, that doesn't require any overburdensome issue on you, but also gives you the guarantee, would it make sense as an alternative investment? Would it make sense as an alternative to the volatile stock markets that have, confounded so many other retirees, or low-yielding bond markets that make savings such a bad plan? Would it make sense as a strategy to avoid that consternation that you see from so many retirees who aren't well prepared and rather position you for a prosperous retirement? If your answer to that is yes, then take a look at these opportunities that I've created exclusively for those who are on the alternative investment webinar that you're on right now. Here is option number one. Option number one, no money down. You can purchase a land there with no money down. I only have 50 lots to offer, and I'm going to be doing these webinars as often as it takes to get those people, because I want to show them, hey, first of all, make clear, you're not doing any business with me. You'll be doing business directly with a developer. Nobody's going to pay me a cent. But you can get it if you use alternative webinars. If you go take advantage of this opportunity through alternative webinars, you can get it with no money down, no interest, and a fixed monthly payment of $600 per month, fixed, until your property is paid off. That's opportunity number one. And I love this opportunity. Why? Because it's not asking you to write a check for 10 grand. It's not asking you to do the types of hits to your credit score that would be required if you purchased real estate here in the United States. No, nothing. So simple. Sign a contract with the developer and you will own a piece of asset, an appreciating asset in an appreciating market, riding his coattails as his $500 million development continues to progress. What's option number two? Well, for individuals who have a substantial pile of cash sitting in their 401ks or in their retirement plan or in their savings account, they are able to purchase real estate down there in this development with a significant cash discount. But it's even better than that. In fact, this also exists for this option as well, is you can get a 100% money back guarantee if the opportunity doesn't make sense to you. But with option number two, if you choose to buy a piece of property, you choose to take advantage of that cash discount. If for any reason in the next 5 years you don't like it, you can return it to the developer and get an annual yield on your property at 7%. So it's a guaranteed income, guaranteed by the real estate developer, who says he will give you your money back plus a 7% yield if for any reason. Why does he do it? Because he's so confident the property is going to continue appreciating in value as he deploys more resources in developing the property, as more roads get put in, as the golf course gets completed. For whatever reason, you have a family issue that you need to liquidate your property, the reality is you would not be able to liquidate it when you're competing against the massive marketing machine of Buy Belize, but you could just sell it back to the developer and get a 7% yield on your money. Option number 3 is along the crowdfunding technique, which you don't buy any real estate. You just lend money to the developer, guaranteed by the real estate, and he's going to pay an 8% annual yield with interest payments every 90 days. Those are the 3 options that you have. And you can look at them more closely once you get this slideshow and the other information that I'm going to send you after this webinar. But I wanted to present a very quick slide so that you could see the return on investment as I calculate it. Again, I'm not a registered licensed investment advisor. I am just showing you the types of questions that I ask and the types of simple math that I do in order to avoid the volatility of the stock market, to get something better than the low yields in the bond market. And alternative investments work for me. You decide if it works for you. Here's some simple math. If you hold the property for 5 years, if you hold the property and you took option number 1 and you spent $600 a month, you would only be investing $7,200 a year. But not all at once, just in $600 monthly installment plan. Over 60 months, you will have invested a total of $36,000. Total. $600 times 60 months, $36,000 out of your pocket. But again, nobody asked you to write a check for $36,000. Just send $600 a month to the developer to own your piece of paradise. If, hypothetically, to kind of walk this through, hypothetically, let's say that you purchased one of these extraordinary lots in this extraordinary oceanfront community for $125,000 at this $600 a month pay. No credit score, no down payment. Over the course of 5 years, you would have paid $36,000, and you subtract that from $125,000, you'd have $89,000 left on your mortgage to this property, to the developer. But what would happen if this development grew at a 5% annual yield? Let's just say it grew at 5%. Well, that $125,000 lot would be worth $131,000 in year 1. Year 2, $137,000. Year 3, $144,000. Year 5, $151,000. Year 4, $151,000. Year 5, $159,000. Now, obviously, there's no guarantee of what's going to happen, but my God, if just increased at a 5% annual yield, by the time you exercised your 5-year time horizon plan, you'd own an asset that's worth $159,000. And if you took the $89,000 that you still owed, your equity would be worth $70,000. That's nearly a 100% return on your money in 5 short years. And I'd urge you, compare and contrast that to the money that I was making when I was in Wells Fargo in a CD. How about if it increased at 15% per year, just like Sanctuary did, the earlier development that the company brought to market, right? Then how would your property appreciate? Your $125,000 lot would be worth $143,000 after a year, $165,000 after 2 years, $190,000 after 5 years. It'd be worth $251,000, and you'd only owe $89,000. If you chose to liquidate at that time, you'd have a $162,000 investment. That's better than a 4x return on your money in 5 years. Massive return on investment. And so if you think, or if you're thinking about alternative investments as a strategy that could work for you, allow me to connect you to the developer. For the first 5 people who act, I can even do better. The developer has authorized me to provide 5 free nights at his hotel. You just fly down there and you can stay in the hotel. All food and drinks are on the developer. He's so confident that you will see the exquisite beauty of these beaches, of these, of the Caribbean Ocean, of the white sand, of the clear turquoise water, the scuba diving, the rainforests, the natural Mayan ruins, the riverine, all the wildlife and extraordinary beauty of this place. You will see it, and you will know that this is the place where you can truly enjoy paradise. And if it's something that you would like to do, then I am urging you, let me know. Just send an email. I've put on all of these slides, my contact information. Reach out to me now because I only have 50 opportunities. That's all that I have are 50 opportunities that can to make this possible. If you want to seize that opportunity, then please call me. I am Michael, and my website is michael@michaelsantos.com. I'm 100% transparent. I never ask anybody to do anything that isn't working for me. I can tell you that Socratic Questioning has worked for me. It has helped me understand that traditional investments are not going to allow me to reach my goal. I am an individual who always takes action. And if you're the type of individual who wants to take action, then I encourage you. Pick up the phone, send me an email, and I will do my best to respond to any questions that you have. And if it makes sense for you, I will connect you with the developer, let you be one of these first 50 people to seize this opportunity. If you're one of the first 5, you can book your reservation and get down there and start enjoying paradise right now. That's my alternative investment seminar for you for today. If you want to take advantage of it, give me a call. I will get you this information automatically because you sent your email when you registered for this. You'll get it automatically. You will also get a copy of my book, How I Built Assets Worth $1 Million. It's called Success After Prison. You'll get that in the email today. You will also get a copy of this book, Top 10 Reasons to Invest in Paradise. I wrote this book specifically for you because I want you to understand what's working for me, what can work for you. So contact me today, and we'll see if we can't be neighbors in paradise. Thanks again. I am Michael with michaelsantos.com. There's my email. There's my phone number. Get in touch, and let's see if we can't own a slice of paradise together and while simultaneously advancing our pursuit of alternative investment strategies. Thanks so much.